It's Thursday, June 11th, 2015. From here in the International Space Station Flight Control Room, this is Mission Control Houston. Welcome to today's Space Station Live. About an hour and 15 minutes ago, from here in the International Space Station Flight Control Room, this is Mission Control Houston. Welcome to today's Space Station Live. About an hour and 15 minutes ago, 3 crew members from the International Space Station landed safely on the steppe of Kazakhstan as the team here in Mission Control watched along with the Russian flight control team through that safe landing, returning terror. They landed officially at 8:44 this morning Central Time, 7:44 p.m. on the steppe of Kazakhstan, just near the small town of Jezkaz. Looked excellent as they exited the vehicle or were helped outside the vehicle, and we'll take a look at that in just a little bit as we watch over the shoulders of the crews, not only those 3 returning safely, but also the 3 aboard the International Space Station that now make up the expedition. As we watch over the shoulders of the crews, not only those 3 returning safely, but also the 3 aboard the International Space Station that now make up the Expedition 44 crew. Commander Gennady Padalka, along with flight engineers Scott Kelly and Mikhail Kornienko. Kelly and Kornienko, of course, aboard the station for about a year. They launched in March, and along with Padalka, and they plan to stay aboard the station until next March 2016. Padalka will serve as the commander of the station, aboard the complex as well. This is his 5th flight into space as a spacefaring crew member, and he will break the all-time endurance record cumulative of the complex as well. This is his 5th flight into space as a spacefaring crew member, and he will break the all-time endurance record cumulative a little bit later this summer. Kelly, Kornienko, and Padalka are officially in a fairly lengthy sleep period and off-duty period. 600 GMT, which is about 1 o'clock in the morning U.S. Central Time, for their full-length day that ends in the late afternoon, going to bed about 4:30 each day. Their sleep shift was changed by about 6 hours roughly to accommodate all of the activities associated with the return of the other 3 crew members ending Expedition 43 after 199 days in space and aboard the International Space Station. Just before he left the International Space Station, Terry Virts sent his last photo from the station. We're looking over my shoulder at his Twitter account, the beautiful picture that Terry Virts sent down via his account, and he labeled that the last picture I took on this mission. And he took that picture and sent it down just hours before his safe return to Earth. So take a look at that, and we'll show you some other tweets a little bit later in the show. The 3 returning crew members, as mentioned, spent 199 days in space and on the International Space Station. They actually landed just hours into their 200th day. They completed 3,184 orbits of the Earth. Total statute miles, 84.2 million miles. During his mission, Virts conducted 3 spacewalks that totaled 19 hours and 2 minutes, along with previous station commander Butch Wilmore. They basically rigged wiring for upcoming delivery of the international docking adapters that will be utilized by future commercial crew vehicles, and also expanded the station's capability for other berthing of other cargo vehicles. The crew was on board the station to observe the first flight test of the new Orion spacecraft last December on the Exploration Flight Test 1 mission. They also greeted 2 SpaceX Dragon cargo craft and 1 Progress resupply vehicle, and they also saw the departure of the last automated transfer vehicle, the Georges Lemaitre, the final European Space Agency cargo vehicle. They also were witness to the departure of the previous Soyuz spacecraft and crew of Butch Wilmore, Elena Serova, and Alexander Samokutyaev. They also were on board for the arrival of Scott Kelly, Mikhail Kornienko, and Gennady Padalka this past March. Virts now has logged 212 days in space on his 2 flights, including a previous flight aboard the Space Shuttle STS-130. Shkaplerov has logged now 364 days in space on 2 flights, and Cristoforetti, representing the European Space Agency and the Italian Space Agency, has logged 199 days in space, this being her first flight. This past Sunday, she actually broke the single spaceflight record for a female, that of astronaut Sunny Williams, which previously was 195 days. For reference, the all-time record for a female cumulative is astronaut Peggy Whitson, which is 377 days on 2 flights. Of course, they leave behind the 3 crew members who assume oversight of the station as part of Expedition 44. And of course, Kelly and Kornienko, as mentioned, will be there until next March to continue their focus on science as part of their year-long mission. Their journey home for Virts, Shkaplerov, and Cristoforetti actually began early this morning U.S. time with farewells and hatch closure before undocking at 5:20 a.m. Central Time. Let's take a look at all of the highlights from their station departure and their safe return to Earth with landing at 8:40.
How do you read as Mission Control Moscow? Watching us also, right? Yes. Go ahead, we can see you very well.
And now Shkaplerov saying goodbye to his Russian. And now Shkaplerov saying goodbye to his Russian colleagues Padalka and Kornienko and Scott Kelly, who will remain on board the station as a 3-man crew for the next several weeks.
Removal.
Two station commanders saying goodbye to one another, and now Virts saying goodbye to Kornienko. Two station commanders saying goodbye to one another, and now Virts saying goodbye to Kornienko before he makes his way inside the Soyuz spacecraft that will be his ride. Before he makes his way inside the Soyuz spacecraft that will be his ride home, along with Virts, along with Shkaplerov and Cristoforetti, a short time from now.
Remind, okay? Can you see that we have removed it?
Hatches will be closed. Virts, Shkaplerov, and Cristoforetti now inside the Soyuz TMA-15M. with landing scheduled just about 6 hours, the Soyuz TMA-15M. With landing scheduled just about 6 hours and 40 minutes from now.
Okay, thank you, Mikhail.
Now.
Okay, thank you, Mikhail.
Сейчас уплотнение протрем.
We will wipe the seal now. Yes.
Shkaplerov and Padalka wiping down the perimeter of the hatchway at the interface between the Soyuz and Rosviet, ensuring that there's no foreign object debris of any sort that would impinge on a good leak check at the time that the vestibule or passageway is depressurized. The leak checks are to ensure that a good vacuum and a good seal is ensured between the departing Soyuz and the International Space Station. And the hatch to the Soyuz closed at 2:04 a.m. Central Time, 3:04 a.m. Eastern Time. Padalka will now work to close the hatch on his side of the docking interface. Again, hatch closure at 2:04 a.m. Central Time. And the hatch on the Rosviet side, or the station side of the docking interface, closed at 2:05. The Soyuz hatch closure at 2:04 a.m. Central Time. So Virts, Shkaplerov, and Cristoforetti are now inside their Soyuz TMA-15M spacecraft. They will begin additional systems checks and the work to depressurize the small passageway between Rosviet and the Soyuz itself. They
The mode is
undocking confirmed.
so captures off SO1 to checking BVS ready indicate the mode is no longer GTO is clear.
Undocking confirmed at 5:20 a.m. Central Time as the International Space Station and the Soyuz TMA-15M passed over southern Mongolia.
The docking mechanism, no issues, no foreign objects, all nominal.
Virts, Shkaplerov, and Cristoforetti bidding goodbye to their home for the past 199 days.
It has been 1 minute. Check gain thrusters A1, D5, D7, A11, A13. All eliminated. The vessel is ready. Page 97. For 8 seconds, the thrusters should be firing. Copy.
first a drogue chute, then a main chute will be deployed to slow the Soyuz's descent rate considerably, about 92 statute miles southeast of Zhezkazgan.
And we have some additional footage of the again, its landing that occurred at 8:44 this morning Central Time prior to sunset, which allowed for plenty of time for retrieving the crew, helping the crew members out of the spacecraft, and conducting retrieving the crew, helping the crew members out of the spacecraft, and conducting their usual post-landing quick medical checkups before departing. You may notice here in the flight control room, and this is actually typical, when the crew is asleep, there's actually because over the course of the last number of years, a formerly mission operations director at Analysis showed that multiple flight control positions could be assumed in terms of watching over data by other flight controllers, and in the event that there was any issue, that the staffing needed to be increased during that time. On-call flight controllers could be in the room usually within 30 minutes or so. So when the crew is asleep, obviously there's no requirement for a spacecraft communicator. The flight director, who is on console currently, Bob Dempsey, assumes that role in the event that for some reason the crew were to call down during sleep periods. And then, of course, other flight controllers can watch over other flight control position data as well as their own. So typically during a crew sleep period, there is a smaller number of flight controllers, but all of the station's systems are being looked at around the clock, even during the crew's sleep period. While we're waiting to get our last little bit of replay on the landing that occurred, let's take a look at activities that are ongoing down the road from the Johnson Space Center and Mission Control. Continuous training at NASA's Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory is pretty much ongoing, training crews, future crews that are headed to the International Space Station. Today, astronaut Tim Peake, who was selected as a European Space Agency astronaut, joining the class of 2009, along with astronaut Chris Cassidy, who flew aboard Space Shuttle mission STS-127 and aboard the station as a member of Expedition 35 and 36 back in 2013. They're both going through a training exercise to install the International Docking Adapter. The IDA, as it's known by its acronym, there will be 2 of those that are flown to the station. One will be headed to the station on the next SpaceX Dragon cargo vehicle, currently targeted for launch on June 26th. These docking adapters are important to the future of the station as well as the commercial crew program, as they will allow for 2 docking ports for the commercial crew vehicles, and also there's been some relocation activity with some other another module, the permanent multi-purpose module, which was relocated back on March 27th. That sets the stage and frees ports for not only the 2 international docking adapters for commercial crew vehicles, but also additional berthing ports for cargo craft as well. So they go through a complete run-through of their training ahead of, at least for Tim Peake, for his ex-serve as a crew member of Expedition 46 and 47. Was captured during the final minutes of descent under parachute of the Soyuz TMA-15M Soyuz spacecraft.
Main chute. This obviously shot from one of the search and recovery helicopters in proximity to the Soyuz spacecraft as it descended to its landing site to the southeast of the town of Zhezkazgan. Once again, a replay of Terry Virts, Samantha Cristoforetti, and Anton Shkaplerov home to an on-time landing at 8:44 a.m. Central Time, just about 43 minutes ago. The crew was quickly extracted from the spacecraft, the descent module that landed upright, and there you see the soft landing engines fire at 8:44 a.m. Central Time, just about 43 minutes ago. The crew was quickly extracted from the spacecraft, the descent module that landed upright, and there you see the soft landing engines firing just a second or two before touchdown. Spectacular view from a video shot from with the landing itself from the time of hatch closure just after 2 a.m. Central Time this morning, where the departing crew, Wirtz, Cristoforetti, and Shkaplerov, bid a farewell to the new Expedition 44 crew of Gennady Padalka, Scott Kelly, and Mick 6 weeks until they are augmented back to a 6-man crew by the next trio to launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan in late July, that being Oleg Kononenko, NASA's Kjell Lindgren, and Japanese astronaut Kimiya Yui. Launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan in late July, that being Oleg Kononenko, NASA's Kjell Lindgren, and Japanese astronaut Kimiya Yui.
And that was my colleague Rob Nate. Excellent coverage of the departure and landing of the Expedition 43 crew of Anton Shkaplerov, Samantha Cristoforetti, and Terry Wirtz. One last over-the-shoulder view of my computer here in Mission Control of a photo that Terry Wirtz sent down also on his last day in space. An excellent view of the pyramids, and that's that photo zoomed in to show you that view. So make sure you take a look. Still posted photos right up until his departure from the station at his Twitter account at Astro Terry. The flight control teams here in Mission Control serve around the clock on 3 shifts. Even while the crew is asleep, the crew is not expected to wake up for quite a while, recycling to its normal hours, and then we'll have some off-duty time before beginning its next full day on Friday. And that's when we'll be back with you here for another edition of Space Station Live at 10 o'clock Central. We'll have a special guest, Scott Stover, lead flight director from here inside Mission Control Houston. Have a good day, everyone.